Good afternoon. The House Judiciary Committee will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Thomas.
Here.
Vice Chair Swearingen.
Here.
Ranking Member Sonnenberg.
Here.
Representative Pickle Antonio.
Here.
Representative Callender.
Here.
Representative Matthews.
Here.
Representative Mohammed.
Here.
Representative Odioso.
Here.
Representative Volslager. Representative Plummer.
Here.
Representative Stewart.
Here.
Representative Timms.
Here.
Representative Williams.
Here. We have a quorum present. We'll continue as a full committee. The minutes from the previous meeting are on your iPads. Please review the minutes. Are there any objections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Friendly reminder, in order to record audio or video of this committee, you must submit an AV request form to the Office of the Chair. All the supporting documents and testimony today can be found on your iPads. If the public wishes to be informed about upcoming hearings, please visit the Judiciary Committee website at ohiohouse.gov and sign up to be on the list. I'd now like to call up House Bill 132 for its fifth hearing, and I call on Vice Chair Swearingen for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move.
Votes the bill is favorably reported. The roll will stay open until end of committee. It can be found in your iPads. Rep. Stewart, please can you explain the sub-bill?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. I want to thank.
The sub-bill is in order. It can be found in
1413-16. I move to accept substitute.
Bill 132. I'd now like to call up Senate Bill 56 for its fourth hearing. I call on Representative Stewart for a motion.
Chairman Thomas, I move to accept substitute House Bill L-136-1413-16 for Senate Bill 56.
The sub-bill is in order. It can be found in your iPads. Rep. Stewart, please can you explain the sub-bill?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. I want to thank members of the committee, all the witnesses, advocates, folks who have testified not just for years, not just for months in this committee, but for years in the past. I want to specifically thank our colleague, Representative Callender, who's been immensely helpful throughout this entire process and a great source of advocacy and feedback. We've had years of testimony. We've heard from marijuana advocates, hemp advocates, public health advocates, everyone in between. Obviously, our governor has strong feelings as well. And so we know where everyone stands. And now is the time where the legislature needs to make some decisions, break some ties, and pass a bill. Senate Bill 56 has undergone 16 iterations to this point to incorporate the voluminous feedback we have received to that point. I want to touch on a few highlights of the substitute bill. Senate Bill 56 preserves all of the core elements of the issue 2 initiated statute. It allows 12 plants for home grow. It allows consumption. It allows possession. It allows sharing between adults. Senate Bill 56 does not increase criminal penalties. And with the passage of this bill, virtually everything that is permissible today with respect to adult use marijuana will continue to be legal and permissible. However, in the same vein, we are adding important protections for children, reasonable restrictions on advertising, and making clear that we are not going to have public consumption in public areas that I think Ohioans have made clear they don't necessarily want to encounter that in their daily lives. We have also tried to address the issue of intoxicating hemp. If you recall, the original version of legislation I was working on, including the Senate's version of Senate Bill 56, effectively banned all intoxicating hemp products in their entirety. Under this bill, and I want to thank Representative Tex Fisher, who's been an excellent advocate for the hemp industry and has been a very reasonable, collaborative colleague in terms of coming up with what we think is a reasonable compromise. I don't like everything in this bill, and not to put words in his mouth, but I don't think he likes everything in this bill either. But in many instances, that's when you know you have an effective compromise. And so when it comes to intoxicating hemp, this bill will create a pathway for legal, regulated, licensed hemp dispensaries who will be grandfathered in, folks who have been in this space to this point and who can meet the licensure requirements, who can meet the testing requirements, who can meet the licensing fees, would be able to have a pathway to continue in business. However, we are going to address the concerns of a lot of members, and including the governor of the state, that nobody has ever voted to allow functionally equivalent products to marijuana, intoxicating hemp products, to be sold in 6,000 plus gas stations and grocery stores around the state. And so with this bill, we would say that you can buy intoxicating hemp products in licensed hemp dispensaries. We are not going to have intoxicating hemp available to any establishment that admits persons who are under the age of 21. And so we believe this is an important change in this area. We are generally going to take the feedback from the hemp industry, which said, treat us like marijuana. They will have the same potency limitations, the same advertising restrictions, the same restrictions on quantities, serving size, and how they operate those dispensaries. For the first time, the intoxicating hemp products will be subject to the same 10% tax that applies to adult use marijuana. And importantly, we're also taking a lot of steps at dealing with THC beverages. Obviously, these are kind of operating in a legal gray area right now. This bill will clear that up. We are allowing for the sale of low-dose 5 milligrams or less THC beverages for on-premises consumption at bars, restaurants across the state of Ohio. We are allowing for carry-out sales of up to 10 milligrams of THC beverages at groceries, carry-outs, and places where you can get alcoholic beverages today. And to account for our folks who are in the manufacturing space here, we are also going to say that you can manufacture drinks that exceed those consumption and sale limits in Ohio. You can manufacture beverages that exceed those THC quantities for sale outside of the state. The Senate passed a version of this bill that included a $3.50 per gallon tax on THC beverages. I know our friends in the Democratic Party, as well as some folks in our caucus, thought that was too high. And so we are reducing that in this bill down to a $1.20 gallon tax, which is comparable to the highest rate that currently applies to spirituous liquor. Mr. Chairman, that might be about all the high points. I'm happy to answer some questions if the committee has any, but we think that this is a reasonable compromise that incorporates a lot of different feedback across a lot of different areas, and we are hopeful that the committee will favorably report the bill today.
Thank you, Representative Stewart. Are there would anybody else like to speak on the bill? Representative Callender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for all the work you've put in. It'll be nice to go to session this week and not have you ask me for an update. Sitting next to each other, that's our weekly conversation lately. And thank you to Representative Stewart, who has shown an incredible amount of patience in this. I know you've heard the same things from me thousands of times, and yet you let me articulate it again and again. And that's because there's some points that are in this bill that had not been in a lot of the earlier drafts. Some protections to the things that the folks voted on with issue 2. This bill is not perfect. It is not the bill I would have written to see that go back to General Assemblies ago, and you can see the bill that I did write. But it's a bill that can get passed that will help us implement some of the elements of issue 2 that have been held up and give clarity to the rulemakers on some of the points that are outstanding. It also clarifies and cements a few of the gains that were gained over the years. Sharing, home grow, no new prosecutions, the taxes going to the local governments. We've got more work to do, though. We are not done. Neither are those who are on the other side than I am, and many of us are. So there will be more legislation. Like any other area of the revised code, my guess is we'll be visiting this and having new laws, new proposals, new bills pretty continuously over the next few general assemblies as we work through full implementation of issue 2. But this allows us to move forward. It allows more licenses to be issued. It allows the tax process to proceed. It allows our local governments who took the risk on allowing dispensaries to get the tax dollars that they were promised. It allows us to have sharing so that when you're at someone's house, just like when they open a six-pack, we can not risk being prosecuted for sharing with someone. It does a lot of good. It does some neutral. There's still some things I'm not happy about, and you can expect to see bills from me and others very soon to deal with those. But for now, this lets us get the big bulk of the items out of the way and move forward with legalization in Ohio. So thank you for everybody who's worked for 2 full years. We're 3 weeks shy of 2 years ago that we passed this. And it's finally going to be fully engrossed in statute and moving forward. So I plan to celebrate. Please let me know where the parties are.
I recognize Ranking Member Sandberg to speak to the subbill.
Thank you, Chair Thomas. I think, Rep. Callender, you spoke eloquently about, I haven't been here the whole 2 years, but I know you've been working on this 2 years. For me, it's been about 10 months watching this bill move, and there certainly has been a tremendous amount of work that's gone into it on your part, on Representative Stewart's part, on Chair Thomas's part, and on our side, my predecessor as Ranking Member, Leader Isaacson. And I do think it does, this bill and this 16th version of this sub-bill does go a long ways to striking a balance between these two industries, hemp and cannabis. It addresses a lot of the issues regarding protecting our children from the intoxicating hemp products that they shouldn't have probably had access to but have, and it regulates cannabis in a way that best serves Ohio. However, I still have some concerns about certain provisions in the bill. Further, with the expedited timeline, I know we're sort of under the gun on that one because of the governor's executive order and the court's temporary restraining, the court's TRO on it. But regardless, we're expedited. We didn't receive all of the language until 7 p.m. last night, with the final bill coming today at, this afternoon. And we've had no opportunity today for further testimony. So taking all of those things together, at this point, I'm personally going to be voting no today, but I hope we can take more time. I know we have at least till tomorrow to continue these conversations and to perhaps look at some further changes. Specifically, my concern is that we still have some criminalization in this sub-bill that I would like to address and remove the stigma of past criminalization that we are now sort of agreeing going forward is not a crime. So I'm optimistic that perhaps I could be a yes by tomorrow, but for now I will be a no. And again, with all due respect, and thanking everybody for everything that their time and energy into this bill to this point. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I recognize Representative Pickle-Antonio to speak to the subbill.
I just had a specific question. I didn't know when the appropriate time to ask those questions might be.
You can ask it now if you like.
Okay, thank you. And just to make it clear, I am brand new on this committee. I have not been here for all of the prior conversations. So forgive me if I'm asking a question that has been discussed multiple times. I too appreciate, I know how much time and conversation has been put into this, and very much appreciate all of the dialogue, all of the conversation that has happened up to date, and hope that that conversation continues through tomorrow before it ends up on the floor tomorrow. The question that I have is really specifically about one area of criminalization. So related to, and I'm going to use the wrong term maybe, but drinkable cannabinoid products. There seems to be a difference in how those are handled at restaurants and bars, alcohol as compared to those products. And I guess I don't know if that was something that was intentional or if that's a detail that hasn't been talked about yet. So very specifically related to alcohol under 21, it's an unclassified misdemeanor, but for the, I'll just say hemp drinks, it is a felony.
Representative Stewart, would you like to answer that?
Thank you, Chair. Are you referring to selling these products to a person under 21?
Yes.
So in the -16 version of the bill, we have harmonized the treatment of selling marijuana to a person under 21. It is now the same penalty for selling intoxicating hemp to a person under 21, as in first-time offense is a M1 misdemeanor, second offense is an F5.
Follow-up, Representative?
I believe maybe some of the confusion, I think earlier, I think the -14 had a different treatment for hemp versus marijuana, where it was a harsher penalty to give hemp to a minor than marijuana. We've reduced that down so that they are both an M1.
So, sorry if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, please proceed.
This is a difference between alcohol under the age of 21 and intoxicating hemp that I'm asking about. So not the difference between cannabis and hemp, the difference between under 21 alcohol versus the drinkable products.
Yeah, I think there is a general feeling in the caucus that we're comfortable with the penalty being higher for marijuana and intoxicating hemp than alcohol. I think that to Rep. Callender's point, I think that'll probably be a source of continued debate as Ohioans kind of get used to a fairly substantial new landscape here. But I think rightly or wrongly, I still think there is a view that we're a little more concerned about selling kids weed than we are selling kids a Miller Lite.
Questions?
If I can.
I recognize Representative Callender for a question.
If I can just add to that, I think that the -14 had it as a felony the first time, which was not okay. So this pulls it back to the same that already existed for cannabis, which is the misdemeanor for a first offense and then that F5 for a second offense.
I recognize Representative Timms for a question, or for to speak to the sub-bill.
Thank you, Chair. Similarly to my colleagues, and looking at the -16 version, I also have concerns about the criminal justice implications. As I mentioned in a number of prior committee hearings regarding the legislation, my number one fear is that we are in the process of legalizing something where a few, select few, will become very, very wealthy while people continue to suffer from past activities, whether recreational or otherwise, utilizing the very same products that we are allowing people to make a profit off of. That being said, I would love to hear if you all are open to any amendments on even the expungement of convictions for charges. People have reached out to us who have charges that are attached to their record and they are still stigmatized because of this. So is that something that you all would be interested in?
Through the chair.
Recognize Representative Stewart to respond if he wishes.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to the member, there is what we think is a pretty robust expungement section in this bill. This bill says that if you were convicted or charged with a possession offense in the past for something that is now legal, you have the opportunity to apply for expungement. You get an expedited process. Essentially, unless there's an objection, you're going to get that expungement. It puts the onus on the person to seek their own expungement, but I think that is a reasonable process to have. I believe we're going to take an amendment here from Representative Williams that we think addresses a few more constitutional concerns to make sure that that expungement process passes legal muster. But we support generally expungement being available, and we think the process is pretty robust. I don't think we're going to do amendments for tomorrow, but certainly can continue to talk through the entire process.
Follow-up, Representative Timpson?
Thank you for that clarification and that addition. I still struggle with that part of it as well, about folks having to spend money, take the time to go to court. It is very traumatizing for people to revisit a very hard moment or a low moment in their life. And so I would love to see us take more proactive measures to allow people to, A, automatically have the records expunged, or B, send some sort of notice to them that they are eligible. Not sure if there are funds appropriated for that or things that we can do just to invite people to have a different experience with the criminal justice system, because right now it is not a very welcoming environment for people who have trials and tribulations from their past. That's all. Thank you.
I recognize Representative Odioso to speak to the sub-bill.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you really to the whole committee over this moment. I have a question and one follow-up. For our local governments out there, our townships, and really great working with you on this. Greatly appreciate it immensely. Could you just describe what the taxation mechanism is, and if they're going to be able to get any of the monies that have already been made by the dispensaries?
Representative Stewart.
Thank you, Chair, to the member. It's a great prompt here, and I think it's important to kind of look back at how we got to this point. So the initiated statute had 36% for local entities in perpetuity. However, there was a defect in the statute. There was not authorizing language. Department of Taxation had looked at this and said there's not a mechanism in this initiated statute, as would be in any bill that came out of the legislature through the LSC process that would have been included. It's not there. So from a legal standpoint, we essentially went from 36% to 0%. When I introduced a separate version of this bill earlier this year, tried to kind of split the difference and go to 20%, because the Senate and the governor had already proposed staying at 0, essentially. And I think that we are at 36% in this bill in perpetuity. That was not easy to get to. I know that's what our friends in the minority caucus wanted to see. Rep. Odioso, you were very vocal about this, and I think when local communities start getting this substantial pot of money, they have legislators like Mike Odioso to thank for that. And I think that that should not be taken for granted, because I think we're now to the end where we've gone through the budget process and we all kind of voted to say that's what we want to happen. But getting here was not easy. That was obviously a big selling point for Representative Callender as well. So yes, this is a substantial revenue from these sales is going to go to our locals. The money has been sitting there, and so we believe it's going to be released accordingly.
I recognize Representative Odioso for a follow-up.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak to the sub-bill? Seeing none, the question is, shall the motion, no, we did this first. Question is, shall the motion be agreed to? Are there any objections? Seeing no objection, the sub-bill is accepted. I call on Representative Williams for a motion.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I move to amend Senate Bill 56 with amendment number 1084.
The amendment is in order. It can be found on your iPads. Representative Williams, please proceed and explain the amendment.
So this amendment cleans up language in the expungement portion. The way it was currently drafted, it's believed that it may be in conflict with the Bloom decision that requires the court to have the discretion to have a balancing test and decide whether or not the criminal conviction or dismissal can be sealed. This is the same language. It mirrors House Bill 5, which the House passed previously and is now pending in the Senate, giving a balancing test before the benefit of individuals that have been previously convicted of a crime that is now decriminalized in the state of Ohio. We do tip the scales towards the defendant, where the state of Ohio would have to establish, they would have the burden to establish that their interest in keeping the records open substantially outweigh the defendant's interest in getting the records sealed. I believe this amendment brings us into compliance with the Bloom decision and is constitutional in the state of Ohio, and I would encourage my members to support the amendment.
Are there, sorry to find this. The question is, shall the motion be agreed to? Are there any objections? Representative Calendar objected. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Swearingen?
Yes.
Ranking Member Sonnenberg?
Yes.
Representative Pickle Antonio?
Yes.
Representative Calendar? No. Representative Matthews?
Yes.
Representative Mohammed? Representative Odioso?
Yes.
Representative Volslager? Yes. Representative Plummer?
Yes.
Representative Stewart?
Yes.
Representative Timms? Yes. Representative Williams?
Yes.
Seeing sufficient votes, the amendment is accepted. I now call on Representative Stewart for motion.
Chairman, I move to favorably report Senate Bill 56 out of this committee and recommend its passage.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
No.
Okay. Okay, so it's going to go back to rules and then re-refer to finance. Good.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Swearingen?
No.
Ranking Member Sonnenberg?
No.
Representative Pickle Antonio?
No.
Representative Calendar? Yes. Representative Matthews?
Yes.
Representative Mohammed?
No.
Representative Odioso?
Yes.
Representative Volslager? Yes. Representative Plummer?
Yes.
Representative Stewart?
Yes.
Representative Timms?
No.
Representative Williams?
Yes.
With sufficient votes, the bill is favorably reported. The roll will stay open today until the end of committee. Please remember to sign. Please remember to sign the document before you leave. There were two individuals who submitted testimony today. Due to there being no scheduled testimony, the submissions are entered on your iPads and they will be in the record, but we're not going to have in-person testimony. This concludes the fourth and final hearing for Senate Bill 56. I'd now like to call up House Bill 386 for its fourth hearing. No testimony was submitted. This concludes the fourth hearing for House Bill 386. And now I'd like to call up House Bill 195 for its third hearing. No testimony